Hello, wonderful people of the internet. Welcome back to the Anthony Morris Returns channel. My name is Chaka. I hope that you have been enjoying my Governing Body Diaries series. That is the series in which I try to demonstrate that the utterances of the governing body members, the so-called faithful and discreet slave, apparently the cream of the crop when it comes to humankind, God's answer to human rulership, the wisest men to walk the earth, God's sole channel of communication. Their utterances are nothing but the rantings of lunatics. And what I do in that series is I basically put together a video clip or a series of video clips. I put a headline on it and I do not offer any comments, and I leave it up to the audience to comment on those rantings of the governing body members. In this video, what I have decided is let's visit with the revered governing body helpers, the governing body's right-hand men. And what I'm trying to demonstrate in this video is that the governing body helpers have a worshipful attitude towards the governing body. In fact, some of the utterances of these men can be viewed as direct worship, directing worship that should be directed to the Almighty God, to their paymasters, the governing body. So please enjoy this video montage.
But you can't do that, said one of the critics.
It doesn't bother me. Really? Again, really?
Look at that little enemy of God.
Somehow we dilly-dally. Takes us years, and we wonder why.
What are you waiting for?
Now, in our day, there is another group of men that are sitting at one table, our governing body. They never lie or deceive us. We can have absolute trust in the governing body. They meet all the criteria that Jesus gave us to identify them by. We know exactly who Jesus is using to protect his people from the lies. We just must stay alert. And what table can we trust? The table surrounded by our future kings, the governing body.
Farmers often trained their oxen to respond to verbal commands so that they could keep their hands on the plow and not have to deal with the reins and the plow. The governing body could be likened to the voice of Jesus, the head of the congregation. So when we willingly submit to the faithful slave, we're ultimately submitting to Jesus' authority and direction.
You see, brothers and sisters, we need the Gideons to help us in our support of the governing body. Gideon was such a beautiful example. Once he understood Jehovah's direction, he was willing to run into the fire for Jehovah and for his organization. That's what we need. We need Gideons. We don't need any more Ephraimites.
Well, I know for me, the governing body provides a beautiful example of that. Periodically, we will get a call in our department from a governing body member who maybe has observed something regarding one of our branch facilities or has a suggestion or a concern. And invariably, at the end of the call, the brother will say, now remember, this is just my opinion and observation. Please do not take this as direction. The members of the publishing committee may have a different perspective. Isn't that beautiful? Even the governing body members understand that their authority has boundaries. What a good example for us to follow.
Lies and false reports against the truth abound, and enemies of the truth use any means to try to smear the reputation of Christ's brothers. But now what's the point? Your time here at World Headquarters, your time with the governing body, your time with the responsible brothers from World Headquarters convinces you firsthand that any negative reports that you hear about the organization are lies. And now you can thunder for Jehovah by defending the truth about those whom Christ appointed to take the lead in his organization. And look what you've been able to do. You can say, just like John, look, I've heard, I've seen, I've observed, I've felt. That is me. I've had a close-up view. This is even a closer look than you can have on JW Broadcasting. This is one-on-one in the flesh. And you can say, I've had a close-up view of God's Spirit-directed organization, and now I am reporting to you, my beloved brothers and sisters, and the assignments that you have. That's what you can do now, what I have seen and I've heard. And in this way, imagine what you can do to strengthen, stabilize, and build confidence in your brothers.
What about those of us who are entrusted with responsibility, whether in the congregation or here at Bethel? We are not lacking for clear direction and regular reminders. You might find it interesting to learn that during the 2016 calendar year, headquarters prepared 80 letters of direction that were sent to the brothers in the field, such as elders and circuit overseers. For the benefit of the branch committees in 90 branch offices, during that same time period, the 6 governing body committees sent out 240 letters to help these brothers carry out their work in a unified way. And of course, that's in addition to the thousands of letters that are sent each month in reply to the individual questions that come from the branches. Such clear and timely direction is a key factor that contributes to our unity as Jehovah's people. Recently, while visiting a branch office in Africa, the overseer of the local design construction department told me that his department meets for 15 minutes 3 times a week to read out loud a portion of the LDC department guidelines. If you like mnemonics, that's the DC 50. Why does he feel that's necessary? As he told me, he has found that a review with the entire department of the printed direction helps the whole department to be sure they're on the same page, that they understood the direction clearly. The regular review has also brought to their attention points that they may have overlooked when they first read the guidelines, or that they now understand even better in the light of changing circumstances. Again, another heartwarming example of willing cooperation and prompt follow-through.
Let's review just briefly what we've learned about the faithful and discreet slave just in the last couple of years. So who is the faithful and discreet slave? Well, it's a small group of anointed brothers who are directly involved in preparing and dispensing spiritual food during Christ's presence. And of course, today we know that as the governing body. Let's consider 3 ways that we can feel about the faithful and discreet slave and the arrangement we have today. First of all, is confidence that this arrangement is from Jehovah. It's not of human origin. That having a governing body and the arrangement we have is not something some humans came up with an idea, but it's designed by Jehovah God. Well, how does our understanding of the faithful and discreet slave really protect us today? Well, our previous understanding that all of the anointed around the world were feeding the domestics really could have left us open to some attack by apostates or others who claim to be the anointed and say that they are also feeding the domestics. And this could have led to some confusion in the sheep about who really they should listen to if someone's claiming to be the anointed. But now that door is closed. We know clearly where the direction and spiritual food is coming from, and we don't need to worry that somehow that could be confusing as we get closer to the time of the end. It's really a beautiful protection for us to know clearly where the spiritual food and decision comes from, and that's from the faithful and discreet slave, the governing body. Really, Brother Dunbar's talk last night could not have been a better description of how well-fed spiritually we are and what great care that the faithful and discreet slave is taking to make sure that it's in all languages and all scripts. He did a beautiful job last night of explaining that. And I think all of us came away from that talk really grateful for the work that the faithful and discreet slave is doing with all of these languages and scripts. If you think about it, the faithful and discreet slave has made sure that there isn't any avenue that people can't go to get the truth, whether it's the printed page, audio, video, door-to-door witnessing, personal visits to your home, metropolitan witnessing, or our own TV broadcasting station. I mean, there isn't an avenue that can't be covered for people to find the truth today. And as was mentioned by our commentators today, how pleased Jesus must be to look down and see what a fine job they're doing in feeding the domestics. You know, as you go around the organization and talk with people today and maybe travel a bit, many of the friends will say to you, we feel so close to Jehovah's organization. And isn't it amazing that we're the largest we've ever been, 8 million plus, and yet people feel the closest they ever have to Jehovah's organization. And it's because of the hard work of the faithful and discreet slave in making sure that we have the tools and they feel close to the faithful and discreet slave.
Let's talk first about trusting the faithful and discreet slave. The faithful and discreet slave has been selected and appointed by Jehovah, and experience has shown we can trust them. You see, trust is built by repeated good experiences. Think of all the good experiences we've had with the faithful and discreet slave and following their direction. Now, some might reason, well, you know, the direction from the faithful and discreet slave is good for the United States, but they don't understand here. They don't understand my assignment where I've been assigned. We need to do things differently. Trust in the faithful and discreet slave is not geographical. Jehovah's direction through the faithful and discreet slave applies to all of God's people all over the earth. See, fear is really a loss of memory of what Jehovah has done for us. Satan wants us to forget all the good experiences we've had with the faithful and discreet slave and let one moment of fear get to us and cause us to wither in the heat. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 2 says, not to be quickly shaken from your reason, nor to be alarmed, especially at rumors. Now, your trust in the faithful and discreet slave is going to be put to the test. Satan will make sure of that. It could be your own thoughts. I know better. Or maybe some twisted lies you read or hear. Either way, it's a trap. Stay away from such ideas. Trust what you know about the faithful and discreet slave. As Isaiah 30:15 says, your strength will be in keeping calm and showing trust. Remember, the faithful and discreet slave has been selected and appointed by Jehovah, and our experience has shown that we can trust them. Now, trusting the faithful and discreet slave and trusting the Bible are just two of many ways that we can show that we trust Jehovah. We don't need to be anxious when faced with lies, bans, or attacks on our Bible principles. Jehovah has given us what we need to fly, so to speak, the faithful and discreet slave, Bible principles, prayer, Holy Spirit, and more.
How does Jehovah feed us? Through the faithful and discreet slave, Jehovah gives us timely publications as well as rich spiritual programs at our meetings, assemblies, conventions, JW broadcasting, governing body updates, along with encouraging songs and videos, and so much more. Truly, the slave is giving us food at the proper time, what we need when we need it. We certainly lack nothing spiritually. What do you need to do? Show your appreciation for the food the slave provides by eating it and never being fussy, picky, or selective in your eating habits. Isn't this a beautiful picture of a shepherd with his sheep? It's adorned the governing body conference room since the 1970s. It's a visual reminder of the importance of their work as shepherds. Brother Loesch, a member of the governing body since 1994, recently explained what this inspiring painting has meant to him throughout the decades. Enjoy the following video segment.
At the governing body meeting, we sometimes look at the picture and we try to apply what is implied in the painting to our work with the congregations and the worldwide flock.
Thank you, Brother Loesch, for sharing those encouraging comments with us. How reassuring it is to know that our loving shepherds on the governing body take their responsibility to lead, protect, and feed you, me, and all of Jehovah's precious sheep very seriously. May we all continue to humbly and obediently follow their lead.
Matthew 24:34. This generation will by no means pass away until all these things happen. Well, we immediately think back to the September 2015 JW Broadcasting edition. Brother Splane masterfully explained this generation and what all it entailed. He did such a beautiful job, I'm not going to attempt to repeat it. But to refresh your memory on our current understanding, let's have Brother Splane review that chart again that summarizes the details of this generation.
Would you like an easy way to keep the generation straight? An easy way is to consider the situation of Brother Fred W. Franz. Now, you'll see that he's FWF on the chart. Now, as we said before, Brother Franz was born in 1893. He was baptized in November of 1913. So, as one of the Lord's anointed in 1914, he saw the sign and he understood what the sign meant. Now, Brother Franz lived a long life. He finished his earthly course at 99 years of age in 1992. Now, do you know of many who were of the anointed in 1914 and who outlived Brother Franz? There may have been some, but not many. Now, just for the sake of argument, suppose that we assume that Brother Franz was the last of that first group of anointed ones. That is, the group of anointed ones who were anointed in 1914, who saw the sign, and then continued serving faithfully. Now, we're not saying Brother Franz was. We just don't know. But for the sake of argument, let's suppose. In order to be part of this generation, someone would have had to have been anointed before 1992. Because he would have to have been a contemporary of some of the first group. Now, again, we're not saying that Brother Franz was the last of this group, but we're just using this for the sake of argument as a point of reference. Anyone anointed after 1992 would be of the anointed, but he would not be part of this generation. And Jesus said, this generation will not pass away until all these things happen.
Very clear explanation. Now, some of you wrote in after the September 2015 JW Broadcasting program and addressed what seemed to be a discrepancy between what Brother Splane said and what was stated in the life story of Brother Franz in a 1987 Watchtower. The Watchtower said that Brother Franz was baptized April 5, 1914. Brother Splane said he was baptized in November of 1913. Well, why the difference? Well, prior to his life story, our publications always said he was baptized in 1913. But in the 1960s, an effort was made to find the precise date of his baptism. And so some who knew Brother Franz when he was coming into the truth were contacted. And from those contacts, it was assumed that April 5, 1914 would have been the date. Well, Brother Franz was in his 70s at the time, and so he just accepted the suggested date. And so that's what was in his life story. However, interestingly, after his life story, a personal copy of Brother Franz's daily heavenly manna was found in an old suitcase of his, and it dated from 1913. And under the date of November 30th, in the margin, in his own handwriting, Brother Franz wrote this. Sunday, he said, I was baptized symbolically into Jesus' death this afternoon in Chicago, Illinois. So since this date is specifically designated by Brother Franz in his own handwriting in a book dated 1913, that was accepted as the accurate date. And so after his life story in the 91 Watchtower, it said he was baptized in 1913. The Proclaimer's book said November 30th, 1913, Brother Franz was baptized. And then when his death was published in March 15th, 1993 Watchtower, that same date of November 30th, 1913 was used. So Brother Splane was correct when he said November of 1913. So there you have it. And you don't need to write in if you're thinking of doing so.
But you can't do that, said one of the critics.
It doesn't bother me.
Really? Again? Really?
Look at that little enemy of God.
Somehow we dilly and dally. Takes us years, and we wonder why.
What are you waiting for?